Welcome back to DarkMind Investigations. Tonight, we're stepping into a room where words are weapons. Silence is a trap, and the truth doesn't come from evidence alone, it comes from the mind. This is the story of how one detective never raised his voice, never made an accusation, and still led a guilty man straight into his own confession. They say guilt is quiet. It doesn't scream, it doesn't run. It waits. Detective Marcus Halle understood that long before he ever stepped into interview room 3, the cameras were already recording. The lights hummed softly overhead. A single chair sat opposite the metal table, empty for now. A paper cup of water waited in front of it, untouched, its surface completely still. Whoever sat there next would try to look calm. They always did. The suspect's name was Daniel Reed, 39 years old. No criminal record, a systems analyst, married, one child. The kind of man coworkers described as reliable and neighbors described as quiet. The kind of man who blended in so well that no one could remember the last time they truly noticed him. Daniel Reed was also the last person to see Lavra Bennett alive. Lavra Bennett wasn't supposed to become a case like this. She was 32, worked as an accountant for a small nonprofit, and lived her life carefully. She planned months ahead. She paid her bills early. She kept her phone organized and her emails archived. Friends described her as cautious, practical, almost impossible to surprise. On the night she died, Lavra had left work later than usual. Security cameras showed her walking alone through the riverside parking structure just after 1:30 a.m. 11 minutes. Later, her body was discovered at the base of the building. The fall was labeled an accident before sunrise, a tragic slip. A tired woman, a wet concrete ramp. Daniel Reed called it in himself. His voice on the emergency call was steady, but strained. He said he had stayed late too. Said he saw Lavra near the edge, looking distracted. Sighed, he shouted her name, but she never turned around. Said the next sound he heard was her body hitting the ground. By the time patrol officers arrived, Daniel was seated on the curb, head in his hands, repeating the same sentence over and over. I tried to stop her. At first glance, everything supported his story. No sign of a struggle, no witnesses, no surveillance footage showing contact between them. The railings were low. The concrete was slick from earlier rain. An accident made sense. Except Lavra Bennett had sent 3 emails that night each scheduled to be delivered the next morning. One to her supervisor, one to the board of directors, and one to an external auditor. Each email referenced financial discrepancies, missing funds, unauthorized transfers, all traced back to one account. Daniel Reed's. That discovery never made it into the initial report. It surfaced later, quietly, buried beneath spreadsheets and timestamps. And that's when Detective Marcus Halle requested the file. He didn't rush. He didn't summon Daniel in with flashing lights or sharp questions. He invited him back under the pretense of clearing up a timeline issue. Daniel agreed immediately. People who are guilty often do. When Daniel sat down in interview room 3, he placed his hands flat on the table and smiled politely. He asked if Detective Halle needed him to repeat anything. He said he just wanted to help. Marcus Halle let him talk. He nodded. He listened. He asked Daniel to walk him through the night again, not from the fall, but from the beginning. What time he arrived, where he parked, what floor he worked on, what emails he sent. What time he noticed Lavra. As Daniel spoke, Marcus never corrected him, never interrupted. He let the story stretch, let it settle. Then he said something unexpected. I don't think you meant for her to die. Daniel froze, just for a fraction of a second. But it was enough. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his tone calm, almost sympathetic. He spoke as if he were explaining a misunderstanding, not confronting a suspect. Things get out of control. Arguments escalate. People panic. I've seen it more times than I can count. Daniel swallowed. Marcus slid a photograph across the table. Not of Laura's body, not of the fall. It was a close-up of a smudge on the concrete railing skin cells mixed with fabric fibers. Your jacket material? Marcus said softly. Right where someone would grab if they were trying not to fall. Daniel shook his head, barely. Marcus didn't accuse him. He reframed him. You didn't wake up planning this. You didn't come to work thinking tonight was the night everything ended. You were trying to protect yourself, your family, your job. Daniel's breathing changed. Marcus continued, right now the story says accident, but accidents don't come with scheduled emails and missing money. If this was an argument that went wrong, that matters. Intent matters, he paused. And the people upstairs won't care about panic, they'll care about outcome, unless we explain it before they decide for us. The room went quiet. Marcus looked down at the file. He didn't rush the silence. He let Daniel's mind do what guilt always does when given a softer option. Daniel's voice cracked. She said she was going to report it in the morning. Marcus didn't react. She said I had ruined everything, that my son would find out who I really was. Daniel covered his face. I just wanted her to stop talking. I pushed her back, just once. She hit the rail. And then she was gone. The confession didn't come from pressure. It came from permission. Marcus Halle didn't trick Daniel Reed by lying to him. He tricked him by giving him a version of the truth that felt survivable. That is the power of psychology. This case was never about fingerprints or cameras. It was about understanding how guilt searches for escape and how easily it walks into a trap disguised as mercy. This is DarkMind Investigations, where we explore the crimes solved not by force, but by understanding the human mind. If this story kept you watching, subscribe for more deep dives into psychological investigations. And tell us in the comments, at what moment did you know he was guilty? Until next time, stay curious. Because the darkest minds rarely look dangerous at all.